Cueva Los Angeles tragedy. On May 30th, 1999, Francis Reyes, a veteran guide with the National Cave Rescue Commission, led a group of 17 individuals into Cueva Los Angeles Cave in Puerto Rico. Among those present was Elba Vasquez Gonzalez. The group entered the cave just after noon and followed a stream tunnel that initially appeared secure. As they ventured further inside, Reyes observed the current of the stream intensifying. What the group didn't realize was that distant mountains had been hit with heavy rainfall, sending a surge of floodwater into the cave system. Recognizing the impending threat, Reyes decided to direct the group to higher ground. As the water level began to rise rapidly, the once calm stream turned into a powerful and dangerous current. Panic began to spread. Reyes instructed everyone to climb a steep, rocky slope that led to an upper corridor of the cave. He and Vasquez remained at the back. As they reached the slope, Vasquez struggled to keep her footing on the slick surface and slipped. The rushing water swept her downstream immediately. Her head struck the cave wall, knocking her unconscious. Reyes instantly jumped into the fierce current. Battling the raging water, he reached Vasquez and held onto her with one arm, using the other to brace himself against the rocks. Through immense effort, he dragged her back toward the slope. By the time he reached the base of the incline with Vasquez still unconscious, he was nearly out of strength. Using the last of his energy, he lifted her upward and the rest of the group pulled her to safety on the dry ledge above. As Reyes attempted to climb up himself, a massive wave burst through the tunnel. It hit him with brutal force, tearing his grip away from the rocks. Now conscious, Vasquez reached out desperately for him. Their hands briefly touched before the powerful current pulled him away, deeper into the cave and out of reach. The other guides escorted the remaining group to a higher, dry chamber where they waited, trying to understand what had just happened. Vasquez sat apart from the others, crying. Rescue teams arrived by sunrise, though the elevated water levels made reaching the stranded group difficult. Several hours later, they located the survivors and brought them to safety. Despite her injuries, Vasquez refused assistance and insisted on walking out on her own. She was taken to the hospital and determined to be in stable condition. Tragically, Reyes's body was found downstream later that same day. The George Bugrada Cave disaster. On February 6, 2014, 5 seasoned Finnish cave divers set out to explore one of the most perilous submerged cave systems in Europe, Plura Grotta, also known as George Bugrada Cave, located in northern Norway. Their objective was bold: to navigate through a 130-meter deep underwater corridor, reach the opposite side of the mountain, and emerge in a distant dry cave chamber. The expedition required flawless execution, intense focus, and absolute coordination. Each diver was equipped with a closed-circuit rebreather, an advanced system that recycles exhaled air, enabling prolonged and deep dives. Though well-trained and experienced, the divers were entering a system that had claimed lives before. The tunnels were tight, the water was near freezing, and the depth pushed human limits. Initially, everything went as planned. The divers followed a fixed guideline through the flooded passages, maintaining a staggered formation while managing their buoyancy and orientation in pitch darkness. After maneuvering through several tight squeezes, they reached the deepest segment of the dive, where visibility diminished and structural stability worsened. That's when disaster struck. Roughly 110 meters, 360 feet below the surface, one of the divers, Jari, became lodged in a narrow restriction between solid rock walls, a point that was challenging even in optimal conditions. He was immobilized, unable to advance or retreat, and his rebreather began to malfunction. In such high-stress situations, panic can be deadly. Another diver, Patrick, attempted to assist, but the passage was far too cramped for both to reposition. Visibility deteriorated rapidly as silt was stirred up from the cave floor, leaving them completely blind. The water hovered just above freezing. Hari's breathing grew frantic, and soon his mouthpiece slipped out. Patrick tried everything, holding onto him, offering a backup regulator, attempting to free his arm. But nothing worked. He faced an impossible choice: remain and likely perish alongside his partner, or surface to get help. Reluctantly, he chose the latter. Back on the surface, the rest of the group realized 2 members were missing. Emergency authorities were contacted, and Norwegian police promptly sealed the cave. Officials declared the bodies unrecoverable, but the team refused to accept that. A few weeks later, a secret operation was organized. A group of Finnish divers, including close friends of the deceased, returned to the cave in defiance of the official ban. Over 100 hours, they carefully re-entered the same deadly system, this time solely to retrieve their lost teammates. Working in complete silence, they painstakingly navigated the narrowest corridors, retracing the tragic path. They eventually reached the spot where Hari had died. His body remained suspended in the tight passageway, rebreather flooded, arms still in the position from his final struggle. Deeper into the system, they found a second body, believed to be Kai, who had died trying to assist or reach Jari. His gear remained largely intact, but he had run out of breathing gas long before rescue would have been possible. After securing the remains and methodically maneuvering them through some of the cave's most confining passages, the team brought their friends home. It became one of the most grueling and heroic recovery missions in diving history, chronicled in the 2016 documentary, Diving into the Unknown. Pierre Saint-Martin Cave. In August of 1952, an international team of speleologists began their descent into the Pierre Saint-Martin Cave network, situated in the Pyrenees Mountains along the France-Spain border. At the time, it was believed to be the deepest cave ever discovered. Among the group was Marcel Lubin, a 33-year-old French engineer and seasoned caver. He served as deputy leader of the expedition, which was headed by Belgian professor Norbert Casteret. The group had spent nearly a full week below ground installing rope ladders, investigating uncharted tunnels, and surveying vertical shafts deep within the mountain. On Wednesday, August 27th, after 6 continuous days underground, Lubins was being lifted up a vertical shaft as part of the team's slow exit from the cave. He was harnessed to a steel cable connected to a mechanical winch. As he neared the top of the ascent, tragedy struck. The cable suddenly snapped. Lubins plummeted approximately 130 feet, or close to 40 meters, down a sloping rock channel within the shaft. He miraculously survived the fall, but sustained critical injuries, including a broken spine. He lost consciousness shortly after the impact and slipped into a coma. He now lay immobile 1,260 feet, 384 meters beneath the surface, deep within one of the most remote sections of the cave. Despite the overwhelming odds, a rescue mission was initiated. Members of the team carefully descended on rope ladders to reach him. A doctor made the hazardous journey into the cave, treating Lubins by headlamp and candlelight in the cold, damp conditions of the chamber. In a remarkable act of subterranean medicine, a blood transfusion was administered underground. Rescuers managed to stabilize him temporarily. Over the following 48 hours, they attempted to raise him slowly back to the surface using a hand-powered winch. However, the narrow shaft and unstable surroundings made the operation incredibly dangerous. As the effort continued, rocks within the shaft began to shift. Falling debris now endangered not only Lubins, but also the rescuers working below. On the night of August 29th, after nearly a day and a half of relentless rescue attempts, Marcel Lubin